Yo, welcome back to the Bowman & Partners YouTube channel. And here we are for the first update video of the Northgate building. It's finally stripped out, so we're gonna walk you through the progress and show you the next phases of this project. And I think these guys want a little bit of showtime, maybe a little, All right, here we are. We're in the Northgate building. It's stripped out. It's just the structural elements left. We now know we don't actually even need these because they put in all this new steel about 10 years ago. As you can see, new floor joists above, new floorboards. So we've had some gems uncovering this property, but I'll show you the expanse of it and just how much has gone. You can see where all the old stud partitionings were, because this was a drug clinic for rehabilitation. And we've had to pull out so many stud partitionings, plaster boards, and just so much has come out of it and just gone straight out that window on all the floors. But yeah, as you can see, it's a big, open, empty canvas for us to start working with now. An absolute godsend. Now we found these, which we never fully knew were here until we could strip it out. This place obviously had loads of asbestos, which we had to get rid of first, and then in doing so, the structural engineer could never verify the existence of these steel beams and steel columns. But now we know they're here, and now we've come up with a structural plan for the whole building and the new design, and to support the load-bearing weight of the loft, which is a 10-bed HMO we're gonna try and get up there, that's gonna travel all the way down these columns, all the way thread through to the foundations of the bottom floor. But now we've got that design nearly finalized. The boys have started on some of the remedial works, some of the pointing outside, opening up some of the new windows, and then we will start on all the structural fixes, and we might have to dig some trowel pits for the steel, which isn't going to be fun. There's a lot of work that needs to happen from now, but now it's all building. Before, we've just been destroying the property. So up to the first floor, as you can see, this is just half of the MFs that have come out of this floor, just half, and look how many there are. So much stripping out has had to be done. We've had all these plaster boards, loads and loads of dust and crap has come out of this place. All this insulation's come out. It's a lot of skips, it's a lot of money. But now it's empty. You can see the history of this building. It used to be one grand hall in here, which would have been quite cool back in its day, about 30 years ago now. But obviously we're gonna change the use to apartments. This whole building is gonna be circa 14 apartments and a 10-bed HMO. However, we have made some changes today based on some revelations after we've pulled some things back. Walked it with the architect on site, and there's a few things we're gonna tweak just to bring the costs back down and to maximize the yield on this property as well as the value. And we've got to be clever with that spend to ROI ratio. But you can see, here's the expanse of it. This is all the first floor. And what we're going to do, if you see this open space, you have apartments run along each side, obviously where all the windows are, is all the habitable spaces, and a circulation corridor that runs all the way around on all floors pretty much in the middle of the building. But there's going to be a staircase. You stay there. A new staircase put in here, and it's going to run all the way up into the middle of the loft floor, and there'll be a big 10-bed HMO up there. And it's going to be a really big, nice open space. So I'm going to bring you back to the SketchUp model now on the laptop, just to walk you through the 3D model for this building, so it's a bit easier to see on site whilst it's still an empty canvas. I feel like showing the 3D model will help with all the things we're explaining as we walk through the building. As you can see here, I have all these different drawings which have changed a million different times to get us to where we are. We're just going to focus on this here for now. I've just made this real simple and easy, clean, color-coded layout to show you all the different aspects of each floor. Where we just paused the video on site, I was stood on the first floor explaining the stairs up to the loft. A new staircase put in here, and this is the first floor, and you can see where those stairs are going to go. There's the main stair core that's on the exterior of the building. That will then enter into a lobby area which will service these flats on this floor, and then the HMO to the second floor. And I'm going to show you what that looks like on the second floor. This is the loft conversion. This has been the thing that's caused us the most issues on site, of course, because we're needing to add a huge amount of weight to the loft and carry that weight all the way down to the foundations, which need underpinning and need a whole load of updating, as well as the steel structure within the building to accommodate for this major change in the loft space. It's been a long process to get us to where we are, but this is the proposal for the loft, and this is why I think it's worth it. You can see we've got a 10-bed arrangement here. All the red is to show bedrooms throughout this whole property. All the blue is to show en suites. The white is just circulation corridors. Here's the stairs as they come up into this loft. And any yellow is just communal or amenity spaces.
And then these two green are the two kitchens we're going to have for the HMO. So we've got a 10-bed arrangement, all double beds, all en suite, all to accommodate a minimum of 1200 by 800 shower tray. The two kitchens as well, because there's going to be a heavy amount of tenant traffic in this building. So it's important that we kind of split the traffic into two separate kitchens, big washer dryer area going in here. And that's it, not much more really to explain on this floor. We've got all these dormers to punch in for all these bedrooms. These two are getting Velux windows, but there'll be ample daylight coming in and really nice views across the back end of Darlington. And that is the loft. And now back to the walk around on the first floor. And obviously getting the structural design right to carry the load of that new floor down to the foundations is the crucial next step for this project. And that is what we'll be doing, whilst also making a few tweaks to the current design. But yeah, a lot of mess. I'll show you this new thing, right? We've changed a bit of the plans, and it's crucial that we've done that. So if you stand back a little bit, just so you can get the scale of this. See those windows up there? They've caused us some proper grief. These ones have caused us a little bit of grief. And you can see why, because the windowsill height is quite high. That's not a very good view, you know, so this floor level has to come up to meet that windowsill height, so that if you're living in that apartment or in that bedroom, in that kitchen, you can see out the window nicely, all the daylight filters through, and it's a good habitable space. Now, what do you do about those windows? Because that's the front facade. I'll show you just how high this is. That's a long way up, and we need to bring it up about 2.2 meters, about here. That's how high we have to bring this whole floor, all the way along this front. That's a substantial piece of work, because that's a lot of timber and a lot of load-bearing weight that then has to filter down through to the two load-bearing beams below and into the exterior walls. So there's a whole expenditure on a structural design for that aspect, then building that aspect. It's a lot of work to get just this apartment space. Obviously we can't bring the windows down because the front facade has to be retained as a part of our planning permission. It's a beautiful front facade to this building. We want to keep it as is, and the planners wouldn't let us open up any new windows. So the only way is to bring the floor level up. But here's what we're going to do instead. I want to go to the moon. Now we've just had this idea today, because up until now we've proposed to raise this floor. But we're thinking we could save a lot on costs and be clever with our valuations still, by incorporating this bedroom into this apartment. So this apartment will go from a 2-bed to a 3-bed. With this bedroom here, so there's going to be a big raised floor here for this bedroom. There's a bedroom in here with windows. There's 2 big windows there. What we're thinking of doing is opening up a big hole in this turret. Sure, we'll have to get structural engineer to sign it off, but we're just cracking in a few pieces of steel. We can get a big hole in this wall. And then we've got 2 windows there to service 2 potential bedrooms. They could run all the way back to about here. And then that apartment goes from a 2-bed to a 3-bed. So is that one. We've gained 2 bedrooms back to these apartments. Now we're left with this dead space. And we were thinking maybe this could be an office, because with an office you don't need the habitable light coming through windows at the same height as you do in a residential apartment. So they'd be fine staying up there, and we can leave the floor level. We don't have to do and spend all of that work raising these floors. However, we had a good idea today. We could open up a big hole in this wall. And if we open up a big hole in that wall, we've got the same thing the other side with 2 windows. And those windows could filter through to a studio space here. And therefore, you've got your habitable windows, you've got this studio space, you don't need to move the floor, and they'd just be a nice feature then. And you could have a nice high ceiling. Maybe we could stick in a mezzanine platform in there with a bedroom above as well. Maybe there's something we could do. All open plan. It could be a really nice feature studio to this building, and not cost anywhere near as much or cause as many headaches as raising this whole floor up 2 meters. The tonnage of that weight alone is a problem to deal with. And then the design of that thing, we've just decided to scrap. We're not going to do it. So you can see in here, here's the windows we're on about. They could service a studio if we bang a big hole through there and get rid of this stair core. So we're waiting for building regs to tell us if we can get rid of this staircase, because at the moment we've not actually had their commentary on it. And then also downstairs, by the way, we'll also gain another bedroom to that apartment. So there's another bedroom gained there, a big studio gained here, another bedroom gained there, another bedroom gained there, and we've only lost a 3-bed apartment. So we'll make up for our loss of that apartment by having more rooms and more yield out of a new studio and better bedroom spaces for other apartments, and save a lot of costs on having to raise all this floor up. Okay, so let's go through the problems we've had with this first floor. It's certainly not, in the grand scheme of things, as tricky or as expensive as adding the loft, but the loft has the benefit of a huge amount of uplift in value. But this first floor is down to good design and good cost management for how we can achieve the desired amount of units. So I'm going to walk you through what we had originally. This has been the plan the whole time, is something like this. So I've greyed out these other apartments, you can forget these for now, and we're just focusing on these two back apartments. So you can see the change in floor height here. To meet this window height, we had to, I'm going to show you a section plane for this. So if you zoom in here, you can see on the right hand side over here, this is the main stair core that gives access to this first floor. And now here we are at 0 millimeters here, is technically what this height difference is. It's 0 millimeters from the external stair core. Now what has to happen as you go back up through the property to reach these last apartments is we've had to bring up the floor level in succession to get to that height of 2.2 meters. And what that means is these apartments are leveled up, and you can see the circulation corridor jumps up about 70 mil. And then as you get to this back apartment, it goes up another 2 meters, or just under 2 meters, to get to that floor height up there. And you can see that almost that whole apartment, 80% of that apartment, is suspended 2 meters above the existing floor level. And that's a huge amount of structure to have to build and weight to bear down into the foundations, as I explain on site, as well as a few other design changes. You can see here on this left side, this is meant to be the stair core from the front of the building coming up and feeding into this apartment. So instead, we've made this change in the last 2 weeks. We're going to keep this at the ground level. As you can see, the windows stay at the same height, of course, the ground stays at the same height. We don't have to add any major elevation to that floor level. And it means you get this bedroom here. We're gonna knock through the turret walls, knock 2 big holes through those. Same on this side for this apartment. And have a nice open plan studio arrangement with a kitchen underneath there. And then we're gonna raise up just 1 platform for an extra bedroom, as well as another bathroom underneath there. And it will become a 2-bed apartment, but a really nice apartment. When this is done, it's gonna have really nice high open plan ceilings. This will be a little balcony for this bedroom. It's going to work really well, and the cost difference is major, and the cost will be drastically less. And then on this side, we played around with having another floor come across here for a 3rd bedroom to this apartment, serviced by these stairs, but it would leave the head height in this kitchen too low. It would leave it about 2 meters once you add in all the insulation, which is just a bit tight. It's all right for this bathroom because it's just a bathroom, but for a whole open plan kitchen, for half of the kitchen to be at 2 meters is quite restrictive. So that would just be a nice open plan sort of studio layout in there, but it's actually a 2-bed apartment, and we've cleaned off this circulation corridor as well. And it's going to be 2 really nice apartments. Like, I would happily live in this apartment. It's going to look really cool. This has had another benefit as well, with a knock-on effect to the ground floor, because now we're proposing to knock out the stairs that are here, subject to what building regs say, and have this as an open plan kitchen diner on the first floor. It means that on the ground floor, where this was going to be the entrance to the building from the outside, and the stairs then go up to that first floor, this is now going to become a bedroom for this ground floor, and I'll go on to that in a minute. But we gain a bedroom downstairs whilst losing a bedroom upstairs. Therefore, the value lost is net 0. We're at the same value, but far lower cost to achieve this back unit. And I think we're actually going to make a much nicer space to live in as well. 2 nicer spaces to live in. I'm really excited to get these units built out. But now to go on to the rest of the first floor, we got in total a 2-bed unit here. We got another 2-bed unit here. We got another 2-bed unit here, a 2-bed unit in this corner, and another 2-bed here. So that's worked out really well. And again, the color coding is pink to show one apartment, green to show another apartment, and the red is for the bedrooms, blue is for the en-suites. And that's going to produce 5 really nice apartments on that first floor. Maybe that made absolutely no sense to anyone watching this video. It makes a lot of sense to me, and it's, you know, it's good to record this stuff. It's important to think about ideas as we're going, and make sure that we're maximizing the potential for a property on a spend to ROI ratio. And then we're back down to the ground floor. So the ground floor is by far the easiest aspect for this building. It's so straightforward. Compared to the first floor, the loft and the lower ground, the ground floor is very straightforward. We're just going to bang in a load of stud partitionings in terms of from a structural standpoint. So we're stood about here right now on the ground floor outside of this external stair core, and you can see that's going to go in and service a mini circulation corridor with a 2-bed unit in this back corner, a 1-bed unit in this corner, another 1-bed unit here, and then a 3-bed unit down here. Now that we've gained that extra bedroom from scrapping the stair core to the top, still subject to building regs, but we get 3 bedrooms here, and we get another 3-bedroom apartment on this side, all with ensuite. And then they actually have their own main access from the front elevation in here, but still have rear access to the main circulation corridor, which leads down to the lower ground floor and the bin store area, the bike storage. If I was to do this project again, I would have gone for as many studios as possible, 1-bed studios with a few 2-bed apartments. Probably would have incorporated any 3 beds. We incorporated 3 beds initially because it was tricky to get the window allocation for separate units, and I didn't know what the demand for studios was like at the time. But now studio demand in Darlington has just flown up with the Treasury coming in and all the investment that's coming into the Northeast. There's such a demand for studios for single people who maybe don't quite fall into the HMO bracket, but don't really want a 1 or 2-bed apartment. They just want a 1-bed studio for either them or them and their partner. We should have gone for more studios, but too late now. We're too far into the process, and this is what we'll have to live with. However, we are going for serviced accommodation units. So these 3 beds, hence the en-suites, and the 3-bed arrangements, we're going to go for SA apartments here and SA apartment here, which will obviously accommodate a lot of guests staying in there. And there's loads of demand for working professionals in Darlington, the northeast area. Geographically, it's a good location, just off of the main motorway and out to the Teesside areas. So we think the SA is going to do pretty well. But that is the ground floor. Ground floor is a lot more simple, way more simple. It's already got the structural elements it needs. There's a few bits that need tweaking, but it's just banging in a load of stud partitions. And then there's M&E and drainage to think about, but they're much more straightforward than raising up all these different mezzanine floor levels. And now we'll go down to the lower ground floor. So the lower ground is also fully stripped out as far as we need it to be. We've left an on-site office, kitchen, and toilet spaces so that their workers on site have everything they need to be here all day, and we've got to make sure they're looked after. The whole space is ripped out. It's a very open plan now, and this will be 4 apartments down here and a big bike storage and bin storage. Not much really to show, but we are going to keep this.
Started 2009 at Beaumont Street. How was that?
Beaumont Street, mate. So that's coming home with us. It's quite cool. There's a lot in here to talk about. They've made a few changes, but I think it's too much to go into in one video. Now that we've ripped the whole thing out, it's much easier to see. We were thinking of opening up a new doorway there, but actually to do that, we'd have to dig into the concrete and then re-level all this floor out here. We're just going to keep this staircase and alter the circulation corridor a little bit and make some changes like that as we go. Now, as for the lower ground floor, this in itself, the layout is very straightforward. But because the lower ground is going to be taking a lot of that weight from the loft all the way down, we have to do a lot of excavation work. We have to do a load of trial pits for the foundations. We have to look at underpinning a large part of the foundations and potentially looking at power driving columns down through some of those foundations to add additional support. But we're trying to find the most cost-effective solution, and it's something we're still tackling at this point as we are about to start the works on the structural elements for this building. So I'll know in the next 2 weeks what this looks like, but nonetheless, it won't change the layout. The layout is as is. The yellow represents the communal areas. We'll have a bin store over here, which we still don't think is big enough, so we're gonna have to tackle that problem as it comes to it. This will be the plant room area at the moment to store the tank, huge tank, 3 by 8 meter tank we need to store for the sprinkler system, which again, we're still trying to look out with building regs and see what is the real requirement for this sprinkler system, because we fall just within that regs bracket, and there's a good argument for why we may not need it across the whole building, which would reduce the requirement for such a large tank, and therefore we could maybe allocate some of that space to the bin store. So it's something we need to see. And then this is the bike storage that fits 32 bikes, I think it is, which will do the whole building. And then there's 4 1-bed units. So you got 1-bed unit here, 1-bed unit here, 1-bed unit there, and another 1-bed there. Pretty straightforward. This has always been quite a straightforward layout. We've changed it a little bit to optimize the space to make sure there's as much functional space in there as possible. And I'm a stickler for that. I go through every single dimension to make sure it is exact. Architect must hate me, but it's making sure that we're offering the best thing we can with the space we've got. And all of these units, as a condition of our planning, will be for serviced accommodation. So these will be serviced accommodation units. They have their own rear access. So we'll have at least 4 SA units, as well as trying to use these ground floor 3-bed units for SA as well. or possibly a HMO. We'll see. We've got a few contingencies here, but if SA works really well in this area, then we might do it across the board for most of the units. But as a condition of our planning, 4 of the units have to be given to SA. And that's it for the SketchUp 3D model. I hope that's been useful to just illustrate all the works that are required from now to get this building to the end product of 14 apartments and a 10-bed HMO. But it's beneficial to do this at the strip out phase because you just can't know certain things until you get to it. And we're at that point now, we're at the turning point for this project where we can lock in, finally, schematic drawings that the building will actually end up representing rather than sort of a rough-ish idea. Now we're pretty certain on what this is going to be. But anyway, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll walk out the back. I hope it's valuable content. I hope it's useful to people watching if you're thinking of going on the same journey and taking commercial buildings and converting them to residential use. It is a lot of work. It's not easy. There's a lot of stages and a lot of things you've got to be patient on. But we are getting there with this project, and this is the first update video. Strip out phase is done. The main bit of the first element is finished, and now it's building from here on out. So subscribe. I hope you enjoy this content. Let me know if you do in the comments. And yeah, Beaumont Street up and running. Let's go.